students, I'm Aanchal Sharma, your educator. In this video, we are going to talk about the Sanskrit plays. So let us discuss the Sanskrit plays, the post-Sanskrit plays and the modern plays. So what is basically the evolution of Sanskrit plays, how the drama came into being? It is very difficult to see when this tradition of drama or playwriting start. But we know that it is the Sanskrit drama, the Sanskrit playwriters who first of all started to write, and then the post-independence period came, and then we have the we have the independence period, the post-independence, pre-independence, and then we have the modern playwriters. So gradually we see that the drama came into being. Right. So let us discuss about the Sanskrit playwriters and the Sanskrit plays. So it is very difficult to determine the beginning of the theatre and the play in India. Some experts feel that it is the non-Aryan culture that has significantly contributed. But what is the exact contribution? No one knows. And we still want to figure it out. But they have seen that it is the folk culture that must have preceded the evolution of the Sanskrit plays. So, in other words, we can say that the Sanskrit tradition presupposes the existence of the folk tradition prior to that. Then, we know that there are 4 Vedas that we have. So these 4 Vedas do talk about some of the art forms, but they do not talk about the drama tradition. So it is Bharat Muni who wrote Natya Shastra, and that became the 5th Veda, which talked about what? Which talked about the drama and how drama is enacted, what are the different elements, what is rasa, what is the expression of rasa, what are the colors, what are the properties associated with it. So it talks about the different elements that are very important for the tradition of drama. So the Rig Veda is the oldest available text in the Sanskrit tradition. It makes references to various art forms like music, dance, poetry, etc. But drama was not talked about. But we also see that the mantra sahitya in the Rig Veda contains some Sanlap Shuktas, that is the romantic verses, which talks about the dramatic literature and its original form. While we have some romances that are there in the Rig Veda. So Urvashi and the Pururava are few romances that are included in Rig Veda, and they are very significant because in the traditional times we saw that in the Sanskrit tradition these 2 romances are again and again brought back, and these 2 romances are seen in Rig Veda. So a very famous Sanskrit poet Kalidas based his own epic play on the story of these 2 romances that were seen in Rig Veda. So hence it becomes very important. Also we see that it is the Yajur Veda which makes a reference to the term of Abhineta for the first time, that is the actor, the one who enacts the play. So Vikramavashyam is a play by Kalidas in which we see that the poet gives references to these 2 romances that were seen in Rig Veda. Then the India's epic, that is the Natya Shastra, is the 5th Veda, and it is very important. It is written between some 3rd and the 5th century AD, and it talks and it focuses on 2 major themes like the rasas and the themes associated with expressing the rasas. Rasa refers to the feeling through which we express what we need to say in a play. So Natya Shastra talks about 4 ways of expressing those feelings. First of all, gestures. Now what is gesture? Gesture is the movement that you do. The movement of the different parts of the body can help you tell or you express your own emotions. These are your body parts, your ang. Then you have the oral tradition. These oral traditions include the dialogues through which you can express. Then comes the spiritual part, you can also express through that, and then comes the properties. So the properties are the different materials that are required in the play to capture the attention of the audience. These are the different colors that are associated, different dresses, different decorations, etc. All of these are mentioned specifically in the Natya Shastra. So Bharat has described different ways of managing the stage in his Natya Shastra. Dance and music have been considered very essential ingredients of the drama. And he also talks about the desired qualities of an actor, the desired qualities found in an actor who is called as the Abhineta. Then comes the next part. So in the Sanskrit language, the play is divided or added under the poetry only. So we can say that we consider the play as a part of poetry, which is again divided into two parts. So it is divided into two heads. We have the Shravya, that is the audio, and we have the Drishya, that is the video. So these are the two parts, right? The Shravya, that is the audio, right? And then we have the Drishya, that is some visual that we can see. Then the play has also called as the Rupak. So the play can also be called as Rupak. Rupak is seen as a play in the Indian tradition, and this Rupak can be of many types. It can be Natak, it can be Prakaran, it can be Bhan, etc. So these can be one act plays, it can be monologues, it can be the full length plays as well. Right. Then they also talk about the Sutradhar. So Sutradhar is important, and he comes only in the beginning and at the end to introduce and then to culminate the play. He does not figure and he is not seen entirely in every part of the play. So Sutradhar is very important. Then let us discuss about the different Sanskrit playwriters. So one of the most important playwriters is the Bhasa. So Bhasa is the first Sanskrit playwriter, and he wrote around in 2 to 3rd century, and his most important play is Swapna Vasavdatta, also included in the Delhi University syllabus of your MA. Right? His plays have been lost in the centuries until the manuscripts were rediscovered in 1913. So in 1913, the manuscripts were again rediscovered by an Indian scholar, Ganpati Shastri. Very important, also asked in the PhD entrances. So Bhasa previously was only mentioned somewhere in different plays, and his works were mentioned like in the Kavya Mimamsa on the poetics from 880 to 920 AD, he was referred. So it was Rajashekhara who wrote about him. So in Kavya Mimamsa, Rajashekhara attributes the play Swapna Vasavdatta of Bhasa. Right, so there were only passing references paid to Bhasa, but then the manuscript was revived in around 1930. In 1912, we see that Ganpati Shastri came with 13 Sanskrit plays that were used in the Kodekam play. And then the first discovery yelled the 10 complete manuscripts. So first of all, 10 plays were seen, Swapna Vasavdatta and so on and so forth. There are different plays, Urabhanga, these are important plays, you should know. These are the 10 plays that are there, and later 2 were more added. So we have Abhishekha and we have the Pratimamantaka who were added later. So earlier 10 plays were seen, and then 2 fragment ones were also found later and they were added. Finally, he found the intact manuscript of the Durvashayam, adding up to the total 13 plays believed to be the contribution of Bhasa. They were attributed and authored by Bhasa. Unlike the other classical plays, one of them mentioned the author, but this was the Swapna Vasavdatta. So the other plays never mentioned that it is Bhasa who wrote the different plays, but it is only the Swapna Vasavdatta which talks about or which says that it is written by Bhasa. So let us quickly see. We saw that Bhasa wrote around 2 to 3rd century. He has written a lot of plays while the manuscript was lost. Gradually we saw that it is Ganpati Shastri who collected all the plays and the manuscript was ready. We saw that there are 13 plays associated with him. First of all, 10 were seen, then 2 were added more. So 10 were seen, again 2 were added, and then the last one was also found, and in total we saw that there are 13 plays that are associated to Bhasa. Then comes Kalidas. He wrote in 5th century and he is one of the most important writer, and you should read in greater detail about Kalidas. So in the most distinguished playwriter list, we saw that Kalidas' name comes at the pinnacle. So Kalidas' plays are available. He has written plays like Malvikangriyam, and there is the Vakramorvashyam. We have Abhinaya Shakuntalam, which is the most important plays. So these 3 plays are associated and are available. I request you to read in greater detail about the play Abhinaya Shakuntalam. Right, all of his plays have a happy ending, and he portrays the life that is seen in diversity and conflicts, and he beautifully weaves all of these things. So he writes about the inner circle of people. Then the Fatal Ring is the adaptation, or you can say the translation of the play Shakuntala, Abhinaya Shakuntalam, written by Kalidas, and this was done by William Jones. So he translated Kalidas and was first published in Calcutta, followed by Europe, and again the republications were there in around 1790, 1792 and 1796. The German writers also translated and later published the plays. So Goethe published the epigraph of Shakuntala in 1791, and in first he adopted the theoretical conventions from the prologue of Kalidas' play. So we saw that even the other foreign writers were referring to the writing structures that Kalidas introduced. Then we have the Shudrak. So he is an important playwright to whom the most important attributed play is the Little Clay Cart, which is called as the Mirchakatika. Mirchakatika, Vinasavadatta and Bhana and the Padma Pratibhitika are few of the plays that are associated with Shudraka. Right, according to the prologue of Mirchakatika, he was a king, but who he was, what was his work, no one knew. So he was, according to the prologue that was seen in Mirchakatika, he was a king. According to another theory, he may be in the 3rd century associated with one kingdom. According to the other theory, he was just a mythical figure, and the authorship of the plays that are associated with him are very uncertain. So no one knows who he was. Then we have the Bhavabhuti and the Vishakdat. So these are again 2 playwriters that were seen around in the 7th and the 8th century. And these are the important playwriters. And Bhavabhuti has written the Mahir Chitrat, he has written the Malti Madhav and the Uttar Ramcharit. Uttar Ramcharit is very important, to which the last one, as I told you, Uttar Ramcharit is very important. So Bhavabhuti does not portray Ram as a god, but he sees himself as an idealist king who loves his wife and is torn apart because of the different problems they are facing. And he is torn apart between the duty as a king and love of his wife. He is constantly in the search of what he needs to do. Then we have Datta's play. Datta's play, the Mudrakashayam, is based on the story of the Chandragupta and the Chanakya, the political playwright of this time. Then comes the other modern plays. So gradually we see that the modern plays started to being. So when the Indians watched the plays in the theatre set by the British, they realized the absence of their own plays, and they realized how their own literature is so less as compared to the other literature, that is the British literature. Thus began the process of translation of English and Sanskrit plays in the vernacular languages. So they all came forward and said that we will be translating the plays in our own vernacular language. Right? The initiative was taken by the Bengali language for the first time. So in 1857, Kali Prasanna Singh translated Kalidas Vikramavashayam in Bengali. by the name of Vidyayotsani. Gradually we see that Ram Narayan also translated different plays like the Ratnavali, Abhijana Shakuntalam, we have Malti Madhav in Bengali. So gradually we saw that the translations in Bengali and in other vernacular languages were seen. Around the same time, translations were done from English and Sanskrit to different languages like Assami, in Telugu, Punjabi, Sindhi, Marathi and Hindi as well. The translations from English were not mere translation but adapted into their Indian version as well. For instance, we have Shakespeare's Merchant of Venice that appeared in a very indigenous form in the Bhanumati Chitravaslas. Right, so we saw that the indigenous adaptations of the Western plays were also done because we saw that we need to have our own roots intact because the British were trying to cut our roots. By the fourth decade of the 20th century, playwriting was gradually maturing because now moving from a very idealistic manner, we were moving towards realism. Now the playwriters were influenced by the problem-oriented plays of Ibsen as well. So P.B. Rajmanar's play, like Who is the Guilty, is closely resembling to Prem Chandra's famous novel Nirmala. So we saw that the plays were now enacted and were very close to the novel writing also. We were moving again and again towards a realism culture as compared to the previous culture that was very idealistic in nature. Right, so these are the few translations we have. For example, you can say that Ganesh Shankar and Lal Shankar Pandey were writing and their translations were seen, or Narayan Mishra and Upendra Nath were seen that they were writing in Hindi. Right, so there were gradually different famous playwriters who came into being and they were translating the plays and they were also writing the plays in their own vernacular language. So in the post-independence period, we saw that methodological form was portrayed in different plays, like the plays of the Budhu Dev Dasu, then Girish Karnad, very important. Then we have Vikramjit also, very important. We have Dharambir Bharti also. So he is also someone whose play became very important, Andha Yug. This play is very important and it is seen in different languages also. Mohan Rakesh's play, that is the Aadhe Adhure, was also very important. So we saw that how gradually the vernacular languages and the plays that were written in vernacular languages were seen. There were translations that were seen, and the Sanskrit tradition that was following, that we were following, was now seen in the modern plays and the modern writings as well. So this is how gradually the evolution started. We started with the Vedas, gradually we have the Natya Shastra, and we saw that there were different playwriters of that time who were writing in Sanskrit. Then the different other playwriters thought that because the Britishers are replacing us, we need different plays in our own vernacular language. So they started to translate the plays and they also wrote their own plays in different languages. Translations in English and in Hindi and in other languages like Assami, Punjabi, Bengali also became very popular and very important. Right? So I hope you understood what I had for you in this video. If you have any doubt, you can write it in the comment section. I'll surely reply to you. Thank you.